it says we're off. There we go. We are live. Welcome everybody to Knife Guns and Gear Chat episode 13. Myself and Metal Trooper are hanging out, talking AKs right now. And Metal 555 Gear should be joining shortly. And Hancock Brewer should be here later. He's got a plumbing issue he's taking care of at home, so. And I understand how that goes. Let me send Andrew a text and see if he's on his way. So far, we have a few people in the chat. We've got Gear Gridden 19, Hawaii Volcano Squad, and the Fat Man. Nanner.
Welcome, guys.
Yeah. So I have a bone to pick with the Fat Man if he's listening right now. I can't believe you unsubscribed from me, man. That's hard. That hurts right here. It hurts right there. I thought we were tight, and you unsubscribed. Man. Just joking. I don't think it was I don't think you did it on purpose. I think it was a Google mistake. That happens. Yeah. You'll notice your subscribers will fluctuate a few here and there, and I'm usually going in the positive. And one time I was looking, I'm like, well, I've lost like quite a few. So.
That happened with Bush Hunt because I noticed somebody had said it was putting videos out, and I checked, and I was unsubscribed to him. I've been subscribed to him for quite a while. And apparently he was unsubscribed to me too. So he resubscribed to me. So it's that Google thing is.
Google effed up YouTube.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So Andrew said he's on his way. He had to reinstall his plugins for some reason. That's weird. Oh, speaking of that, I need to add this. No, not the control room. The Hangout toolbox. What? Okay.
There he is. Oh, no.
No, that's just me messing with my my dealio here. Let's see, lower third. Why can't I turn that on? What's going? There it goes. All right, maybe. Bam.
There he is.
There's Andrew. And why isn't my chat thing going on? There it goes. Maybe it doesn't say Knife Guns and Gear under my name, does it? Do you see that?
I don't see nothing. It's just a dark, just like
Why
a
is it
dark
not working?
bar.
Enter a preset title. Hush your mouth. Google. Whatever. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. It just looks nicer, but no big deal. Andrew, what up, my man?
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. I'm having some weird hardware problems. I don't know what it is.
Sorry. I just got a text from Hancock says still working on the shitter. That's funny.
That's
He
crazy.
may or may not be here or not. We'll find out if he gets his toilet fixed in time. You don't want a toilet leak. That's not a good thing. So, Kelly Parks just joined us and DC'd.
That's kind of what's going on, I think.
Oh, I can barely hear you, Andrew.
I said I had to read Firefox this week, so I think that's what's going on.
Oh, I got you. All right. Cool beans. Well, we're just kind of chilling. We were talking about AKs before you came in, and we'll talk a little bit more of those tonight. And then the only other topic we wanted to cover is the knife values subject we were talking about last couple times. So we'll actually hit on that maybe first, so we get it knocked out and actually discuss it a little bit. And then, yeah, well, other than that, I think it might be a shorter chat. I'm kind of not feeling very well tonight. I have some stomach ache going on that I'm not fond of, so we'll see how it goes.
Bummer.
Yeah, I've been fine, and my wife was complaining about something that hers was bugging her, and then it's like all of a sudden mine was. I'm like, I wonder if you pass it on to me, or if it's like some little stomach bug or something. I don't know. So what's new with you guys? We'll start there.
Things are good. I'm still on my traditional knives bender.
Nice.
I just picked up an Indian Riverjack, the first Indian Riverjack that I've owned, and it's a blue camel bone. So
Those are
really cool.
for.
What'd you say?
They're made by Queen for Northwoods.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous about it, right? You know, because they're a lot. I mean, they're definitely Queen definitely doesn't have the reputation that Great Eastern Cutlery does, but you're paying just as much, right?
Yeah,
So,
and it's because of the steel they used. I mean, they used CPM 154, didn't they? On the new one.
right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
I had
it
one of
should
the
be.
previous versions, and it was 154, I think, CM, and it was like
Yeah.
horribly off center. I was like, wow. It was the handles, the covers were really nice. It was like a smooth bone, white bone kind of look, and it was really a good looking knife. But there was no half stop, which I thought was strange, and there was no the blade was off center. So hopefully, they fixed those issues. I really like the way they look. I think it's a great looking knife. It's like a perfect size, and it's nice to have that higher end steel. But I kind of like trigger shy now that I had that experience with my first one.
Yeah, I know about the half stop, and that's a bummer because, I mean, the walk and talk is part of the experience of these traditional knives.
Exactly.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm kind of want to get a folder. I would like a traditional with a better steel, just so that I can have one without being as self-conscious about it. I mean, I think that I'm still kind of babying a lot of the carbon steel knives that I have. Carbon steel folding knives, which is not.
This is what you need right here.
What you got?
That's the.
Oh yeah, I know. I do need one of those.
Well, I might be selling it, so if you're interested, hit me up. But this is though it's 154 cm, so it's not as good as CPM 154, but it is far and away the fit and finish is impeccable on this knife. It's the nicest flip joint I have. It's a Case Tony Bose collaboration.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I saw your video on it and everything.
Perfect walk and talk. Yeah, it's really smooth opening. It's a light pull, but it's got really good walk and talk, and it's flush and half stop. I mean, it's perfectly centered. It's gorgeous. I just don't ever carry it for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because it's the same size as my small Sabenza, and I just end up carrying that. I don't know. It's a little bit bigger. It's 4 inches close, so it's a little bit bigger. I posted it up for sale on Blade Forums, but if it doesn't sell, I won't be heartbroken. I'm fine with keeping it, but that's kind of what you're looking for, something that's got a little better steel, that's not carbon, and it's fit and finish, because GEC really only does carbon steels and then like 440C. I think that's all they do. So if you want a higher end, yeah, you do kind of have to step out of GEC a little bit. But the case. Go ahead.
I feel like that's like an area where like the market could be explored pretty easily. Like, I mean, Queen's kind of the only people doing traditional knives in modern steels right now because they do CPM 154, but they also have D2 knives, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. If I had an investor's background, I think that would be a great place to make some new knives. Do some traditional patterns and materials, but use some really high tech materials too. Like I think that I'd love to be able to get some of these patterns with rather than being all stainless, have them be titanium, and then with a modern steel. I wonder how those would work.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few custom makers that'll do that with titanium liners instead of steel and carbon fiber. They do some modern materials, including steel, but they're still slip joints. But you're paying custom knife prices, so they're pretty pricey.
Yeah, I'm kind of I've been looking pretty hard at some of Gene Wiseman's knives because they're really they're not quite as expensive as like a Davidson or something, but they seem like the quality's really up there. And he makes pretty lightweight ones.
John Lloyd does some good stuff too, and he's not very expensive.
Yeah, I like Lloyd stuff. It looks like he does hand rub finishes and stuff too. His stuff looks really polished.
Yeah, I saw one for sale on I think it might have been for trade on Blade Forums today that had Damascus steel with carbon fiber. It was really good looking. It was a really pretty knife, and it was a slip joint that he made. So
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I mean, to transition to the value conversation a little bit. I mean, definitely with a lot of production knives, I feel like you pay extra for exotic materials or premium or exclusive designs. So, like for example, I've been playing with this knife quite a bit today, Paramilitary 2, with the compression lock, and like I feel like I pay extra. I mean, I'm willing to pay extra for a proprietary lock there, but it's kind of funny because is as excellent as that lock is, 99% of the time I'm not going to be testing a knife's engineering to the point where I need that lock. You know, that's kind of what I'm realizing with my slip joints is like most of the stuff I'm doing is pretty light duty. You know, I mean, I knew that already, but it's nice. It's kind of interesting carrying a knife that's really what it's for. You know.
No, I 100% agree. That's kind of why I've not necessarily switched to, but because I still buy modern folders. I mean, I love Sebenzas. I'm going to continue to buy Sebenzas. Like I could have like 100 of them. Nice. I'm not even joking. But I agree. Like my stuff is light duty, and I would think that I would say 99%. Well, I don't know 99, but let's say 80% of people are knife nuts that use knives and have them really don't need, the high-end steels, and they really don't need the, like you said, the proprietary locks or the high-end materials. I mean, typically something like this, which is actually a high-end flip joint, it's pretty pricey.
Yeah. Was that like $300?
I paid $250 around there for it, but yeah, they sold for $3 something new. But something like that, that doesn't have a lock, but it's still got a stout blade, and it's going to cut a lot better than most of these modern knives.
Yeah.
And it'll do the job. I mean, it's not like I've been cutting the slip joint slipped and cut my hand open. That's never.
Yeah, right.
So and it's kind of funny because we had this conversation a little bit about the Apostle P's video he did on modern folders and how they're getting a little crazy, all the overbuilt tactical stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking at something else that's on the same subject, and it's not really necessarily knives, but it's like the whole EDC craze.
Yeah.
People are EDCing weird things. I'm sorry, but I'm like, what would you do with that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is my new EDC item. It's a top.
Yeah.
I saw this on the conversation on a Facebook forum. It's like, what kind of EDC top do you guys? I'm like, a top? Like, the kind I played with as a kid, and you spun it around? I'm like, what? Like, that is not an everyday carry item. I'm sorry. That's getting weird for me.
It's pretty funny. I mean, I definitely feel like, first of all, if people see my EDC video, I verge on the side of overkill, but I'm totally comfortable saying it's because I'm a hobbyist and it's something I'm enthusiastic about, not because I need it at all. But
there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of getting out. I don't want to say it's getting out of control, but it's getting close to being out of control.
There's a lot of things that I think are pretty it just seems like people realize they're cash cows, like paying $20 for a hanky.
Yeah.
$40 or whatever, I think I'd rather spend my money on a knife.
That's. You know what though? I don't have any hankies, but I do have one of those caddies that Hanks makes.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I'm not. Yeah.
I use it every day. So this was worth the money to me because it's in my pocket every single day. It holds 2 knives. I've got my small Sebenza carbon fiber and my Swiss Army compact. Or not? Yeah, compact. Yeah. In that, and it's perfect, man. It's nice in your pocket. It keeps them organized. You don't have to use a clip. Because I'll tell you the one thing that is kind of funny and humorous about knife guys and EDC guys is their pockets on their jeans are typically torn to shreds. And my pockets are completely torn up, on most of my pants. I'm like, my wife's like, I'm sick of buying you new jeans because your pockets are torn up, And so something like this, you can only carry smaller knives, but that's okay. I prefer smaller knives now. I don't tear it in my pockets. It stays in there nice in my pocket. I can get my knife out easy and use it if I need to. And but I do get that. I saw one sell for like $40 the other day, a Hank, and I was like, wow, like $40. I mean, so good for them that they're selling that stuff and making money. Because you're right, it is a big hobbyist thing.
Yeah.
But not to get too far off topic, but that top thing really threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
And those Knucks, I don't really get that. It's like they're huge. I'm like, I mean, I guess if you're gonna plan on getting in fistfights a lot, then sure, carry a Knuck around. But again, for a self-defense tool, nothing's gonna beat a gun. I'm sorry, it's just not. And I guess if you can't carry a gun in your area, then that might be some sort of option for you. But I would think like a baton would be more effective, or something that gives you reach. But
I mean, the Knucks have no connection with reality as far as the self-defense tool goes. I mean, you're paying. I mean, the guys who pay $300 for a set of
Knucks. Yeah. Just like you're crazy.
I mean, guys have collections of them and stuff. I mean, like, I think the Vox Snail, for example, is really cool and fun, but like, it'd be really hard for me to imagine paying more than like $75 for that. I mean, even though it's coming from like a custom maker and everything, like, okay, yeah, so he's a cool guy and I'm sure he's doing a really good job, but like $300 for a little snail toy, like, I mean, just maybe in some ways it's honest because like these are basically adult toys in a lot of ways. I mean, not adult toys in the
sense.
Let me find a different way to put that.
For another chat, I think. Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, like, what are some other funny ones that you see? Well, I mean, like, another thing that I've been kind of intrigued about is all the custom flashlights.
Yeah.
I mean,
flashlights are very useful. I carry one on a daily basis. That's.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, and so do I. But imagine, I mean, the idea of spending $400 on a flashlight that essentially, it's kind of the same thing with knives, I guess, where the functionality, you have a common denominator for functionality, and once that denominator is met, and everything after that is basically, I mean, just for fun. I mean, my Magismo is going to light up a room probably more beautifully in some respects, and definitely with a craftsmanship that, whatever my Surefire is, equally well. Like, at the end of the day, when you need to, like, find your freaking pen that fell under your desk, like, you're not going to care that you have a $400 flashlight,
Yeah, I'm looking at this Facebook group I'm part of, EDC Underground, and there's always like pictures of EDC stuff on there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Here's one. It's some for sale. It's called Damascus Horton Twug. It's called a Twug.
Yeah.
It's like a miniature pry bar thing. $450.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, that's wow. You could buy a lot of knives with that. You could buy a gun with that. You could buy.
I know. Yeah. Really nice watch.
You could buy all kinds of stuff. Like, that's
a funny thing to me is, like, I mean, one thing that I think you can justify spending money on a mechanical watch for is how intricate and how much manufacturing process goes into making some of these mechanical watches. But, like, spending even like $100 on a pry bar seems like, so that guy water jetted it and went over it with a sander and then stamped his name on it. Like, I mean, how much time do you really spend on that pry tool, I mean.
Yeah, the other one is lanyard beads. Like.
Oh yeah.
I like the bead that came. I didn't used to use lanyards, but on the Chris Reeves knives, man, I love them. They're just perfect size. They're small.
Yeah.
And they come pre-tied, and this one has a nice little titanium bead on it with some like blue anodizing.
Oh, it's nice.
And that's cool, But
it came that way from Knife Art.
Yeah, it came that way from Knife Art.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of a little extra you get with that one. And nothing wrong with lanyard beads, but I'm seeing some go for like outrageous prices, and I'm like, what? And some of them are gigantic, like huge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that just is crazy to me. That's one thing I don't, I see the usefulness of a lanyard and having a small like bead on it for just decoration or whatever, but I'm not into those big ones either. Yeah, here's one of those snails, the Vox Snail. I'm not even sure you'd use that thing for to open a can.
Yeah, it's basically a very, very nice beer beer tool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could use it as a knuck, I guess. But yeah, you know, I mean, I got a lanyard bead from Edge Observer, and I think I paid $30 for it. And
See,
it was
that's not bad, but I've
yeah,
seen
I
some go
mean,
for way
it
more.
was one of those things where I bought it because I'm trying to support his work, and he did do a perfect job. Like, it was just a little flawless machine thing when it came, and all the adenizing was great and stuff. But it was definitely one of those things where, like, this is basically a superfluity. Like, there's no essential reason why I would need this, and I just got this because it's like jewelry. I mean,
And those the dog tags are really popular too, like the copper
yeah.
tag.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All the like steel flame stuff. Like, I haven't owned any steel flame stuff, and like I guess I just don't know enough about his products. But like, I mean, I see necklaces that his sell for $400. I'm like, wow. Like, is it all handcrafted or something?
Those kill boxes are pretty cool. You know, they like takes that box and they shoot it, you know, a bullet through it, and that's kind of like the kill box. And it's really kind of cool, but I'm like, they're so expensive. I'm like, oh, that's like man jewelry, you know, which watches essentially, you know, they tell time, obviously.
Yeah.
They're, you know, in a lot of ways, man jewelry, but you know, a watch is very useful, and you know, that's part of my EDC. So I mean, EDC in general is it can, you know, and people are. It's kind of interesting. And since we started this conversation, people in the comments are saying, you know, I mostly carry a light, a flashlight. I mean, a flashlight, a knife. You know, that's about it.
Yeah.
Very few hundred things. So it's interesting. A lot of the guys that are in the chat are, you know, kind of in agreement with us on that. But back to the knife value conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's been one of those things. I thought about doing a video on it, but I know I'd get a lot of negative feedback on it just because people would not agree with me, which is fine. But you know, it's gonna vary for each person. Like, let's take Bill for example. You're a new knife guy. You know, like you have what, a handful of knives maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Kershaw I sent you is probably, you know, one of the better knives you've had, right?
Yeah, I've got a what is it? I got a CRKT Crawford Casper,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty nice one. Other than that, yeah, that's about it. I've got a couple knives that I made way back when I used to work at the factory, but I mean, they were just made out of some kind of stainless that we used to use.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, like Kershaw, you know, when we're talking about values, we're not really necessarily talking about value knives like that Kershaw.
right.
Kind of like what stemmed this conversation. Me and Andrew were talking about how Spyderco's kind of really raised their prices on, you know, knives made with like not that high of steel, premium steels, and you know, made overseas, you know, and the value proposition, you know, is a little off compared to like a ZT that has, you know, those new ZTs coming out are like the one I want the most. I think it's the 450. It's $160. I'm like, what? Like, that's insanely cheap. U.S. made, titanium handles, on bearings, S35VN still, like $160.
Yeah.
That right there is like value right there. That to me is like the epitome. Spyderco would probably charge another $100 for the same knife.
Easy. Well, they are. I mean,
They really are. Yeah.
I mean, I think that, you know, I was reading a little bit more about the Sleece Bowie, you know, which is kind of like Spyderco's new large Sebenza-sized titanium frame lock.
Yeah.
And I dig it. I mean, I think it looks friggin' awesome. I'm a Spyderco guy, and I think this checks off a lot of boxes for me. But like, one of the things that they've said a number of times on the forums is like, it's expensive because they constantly scales, so that adds a lot of money to the final price. And I'm kind of like, how much extra machining is that really? Like, it just seems a little implausible. I mean, we got ZT doing like the 0560 that has, you know, much more intricate scales, and they're like much more explicit. Like, yeah, it takes us X many hours. Like, I forget exactly what the number is. Maybe you remember, but it was something like each set of the the titanium side of the 560 takes 3 hours or something. Like that's a lot of machining for a production item for sure. And so I can understand that adding to the final cost. But you know, and the even more extreme thing than ZT, you know, you mentioned Apostle earlier. Well, Rob put up a video. Did you see his rant against Chinese knives?
Yeah, I think so.
So that was like a video where I think I disagree with him on some points, but like he's basically bringing up something that I think the knife industry is kind of realizing it's going to have to do something about, which is a company like Kitzer basically putting out a knife that on paper and maybe even in the hand is equally as good as some of these American-made knives, and it's a third of the price. And just like the value side of that, you know, without taking into some of the questions about supporting Chinese economy and that kind of thing, I mean, you know, that's really, I think that's really an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, I thought maybe we could take the direction of the conversation that way, like, because I think a lot of guys are, you know, the appeal to buy American, I 100% understand, first of all. But a lot of these American companies are outsourcing a lot of their budget stuff anyway. And if those companies that are outsourcing, that they're outsourcing to, and some of these companies that they're outsourcing to start producing their own knives, I mean, it just seems like it's a little bit of cognitive dissonance to say, well, okay, so I'm okay with my Tenacious or whatever, but I'm not okay when the exact same company starts producing their own knives, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, kind of what I have a hard time with Spyderco, some of these knives being so expensive, because they are made overseas, so that we know that the cost to make them is less. Regardless if Taichung makes great knives, they do. That Taichung factory produces awesome knives.
Yeah.
China, first of all, I've had this conversation many times on my videos that Taiwan and China are not the same place.
Right, yeah, I know.
People don't get that.
But, oh, what the heck?
China wants Taiwan.
Yeah, so Taichung make great knives, but should they cost $100 more than a U.S.-made knife with the same materials? No, they shouldn't. That's the price.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum, like you're saying with the Chinese makers that are making like Riate knives, I've reviewed a couple of theirs. They're awesome knives. Like, they are so well made, and they're made overseas, and they're not that expensive. They're under $200.
Yeah, right.
You know, equal in quality, in my opinion, to ZTs and Spydercos.
Yeah.
And using similar steels and titanium frame locks, you know, and bearings. I mean, their new one, they just came out with, I think it's called the Horizon C. It's a gorgeous knife. It has a really dark titanium I've never seen before. It's like a dark charcoal gray. I don't know how they achieved that color. And then it, you know, it's on, I guess, ceramic detent and bearings. Like, it's like pretty, you know, advanced stuff, and it's like a $200 knife.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's made in China. So, in my opinion, that is priced accordingly. That is priced correctly. You know, I'm not going to pay $400 for a Chinese-made knife. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, is it Kaiser or Keiser? How do you say that one?
I think it's Kaiser because it's like, I could be wrong. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Kaiser's been making a lot. They just did a collaboration with Matt Chuchiera. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
You know, he does custom knives, the Dorado and the Flashpoint, I believe it's called, Flashbang, something like that.
Yeah.
They just reproduce those, and you can get those for like $150, and they're, you know, really close to his customs, and he, you know, is really involved in that whole collaboration. So yeah, there's companies like those two. I mean, I think those are the two companies doing it, Kaiser and Riate, that are really kind of changing the knife game a little bit. So people are like, man, do I really want to spend that extra $100 on that Spyderco, knowing that it's made in Taiwan, you know, not the USA?
Yeah.
Still better than China, but the quality of it is, you know, it's kind of like you got to take that Chinese, the country of origin, I think, out of the conversation a little bit sometimes. And that's where you kind of see the real value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think that it's perfectly valid to discuss the issue of supporting a communist regime, even if it's a capitalist economy. It's still a communist government. And I think that we can have legitimate, you know, concerns about that. But that's a separate conversation than what's the value of these knives to some extent. You know,
Yeah.
like, I mean, like, how, I mean, that's the thing that I think, I mean, I've read a number of collectors say they sit down, these are guys who have handled all of the best knives out there, and they'll handle something like a District 9, and they'll say, this is, as far as I can tell, just as nice as these other, you know, other serious, well-regarded knives, you know. I feel like that's got, I mean, that's going to impact the industry one way or the other. I mean, because at least what it's going to do is it's going to show that that the production power doesn't, it isn't a monopoly in one place, for example. It isn't just in Taichung. It isn't just in the United States or Germany or Italy or whatever. I mean, and as companies like Kaiser continue to produce knives that are, you know, collaborations and stuff, like, they're going to produce things that I'm not a big fan of Kuchera's designs, but if they did something with I don't know, Jens Anso or something, like, I would look at it pretty seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's a very complex issue because there's a number of kind of, I feel like there's like multiple conversations that happen at the same time a lot of times when you talk about it, you know, like you can't like say, you can talk about the value prospect, you can talk about the supporting the economy, you can talk about, well, you know, what are the labor, so what's the labor situation with these different locations for production. It just gets kind of complex. I mean, not to say that. I mean, I think that there's a legitimate. I mean, I'm glad that we're talking about it because I feel like we need to kind of wrestle with the situation as a collector community, especially like people like us who, like, if I did a review on the District 9 or, you know, your review on the District 9 or whatever, like, people are gonna, their perceptions are gonna be changed by it, right? I mean, they might not consider it otherwise. I know for sure that I think it was probably your review on the District 9 that made me think, like, okay, yeah, this is pretty interesting. I know Jim Skelton did a review of some Chinese knives. I forget which one it was, but it was one where I thought, like, wow, I can't believe he's looking at this, you know, just because I would never expect him to say it, you know, do a review on it. And so, I mean, I can speak for myself and say that my consumer expectations are changed by people who whose opinions I look towards, and it's just come a long way from just saying, like, oh, if you buy Chinese, you're buying a Hinderer knockoff, you know? Like, come a long way from that, it seems to me.
No, yeah, and the people don't realize that, you know, like companies like Enlon and what's that one, B or whatever in China that sell a lot of knives on eBay.
Yeah.
They're actually making knives for Spyderco and for Kershaw and stuff. Like,
yeah.
One of the companies that has produced a lot of those, like the Tenacious, all those kind of knives, and you know, they'll talk bad about that, but if you put a Spyderco label on it, oh, it's, you know, it's the greatest value in knife world history, you know, the Tenacious. Like, I've heard people say stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, you know, it is a good knife and it's a good value, but you know, they're not making it. So,
yeah, right.
Anyway,
yeah.
No, I agree, and I think these companies making their own knives, and no, I think it's a good thing. I think what it'll do for consumers like us is it'll drive prices down. I think that's one reason why ZT might be pricing their new knives lower, because you know, those new knives are coming out. The pre-orders are like pretty inexpensive on them, and I can't even believe it. You know,
Sure.
And I'm ecstatic, and that's like that 450 is like the knife I've been looking for. Now Kaiser does make one that I've been looking for. It's a titanium frame lock. It's 4 inches closed, 3-inch blade. S35 yen still, it's stonewashed. The only reason why I haven't bought it is because it has a tip-down only clip.
Oh, okay, sure.
No, I hate that. That's just personal preference.
Right. No, I know you. Yeah.
But that you know, that's another topic. Is people can decide, I'm not going to buy a Chinese knife because I don't want to support China, and that's fine. You know what I mean? That's their prerogative. There's plenty of U.S.-made knife companies. You know, to do that, and that's fine. But there's nothing wrong with people buying those knives. I mean, people are buying them like crazy, and they're really good quality products. So, you know, if that's your reason for not buying it, that's fine. But then don't buy a Kershaw because they make a lot of knives in China, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, like, I mean,
don't buy Nike because Nike's made in China. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna go pretty far. You're not gonna get pretty far in life if you only buy U.S. made products because so much is made overseas, and it's a shame, And I wish more quality things were made in the USA, but that's just reality. But,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, what we're talking about is materially participating in economies that you don't support in principle. So, like, every time I buy gas, I'm probably supporting some regime, in the Middle East that I'm, in principle, have fundamental disagreements about. And every time I buy cheap clothes, I'm supporting slave labor indirectly. And to some extent, like, I think the argument with Nice is that, well, all of these things are a voluntary investment anyway because it's just for a hobby. And if you're going to voluntarily spend your money, then maybe you should do it in a way that's more ethical. And I get that argument. But the thing is it's actually really interesting. I have some friends who studied Chinese economy and have spent time in China. And China's actually super unstable right now because communism doesn't work if you want a successful economy. Like, that's what's socialists don't like to hear that, but communism doesn't work as an economic system. And so what's happening is you have this emerging capitalist system that's fundamentally unable to be regulated. And so, I mean, a lot of the really successful examples of Chinese firms, Chinese businesses, like the Chinese automotive industry and stuff, it's not really top-down regulation. It's not communist. It's capitalists who are succeeding in spite of being in a communist regime. And in some sense, I feel like if you, and we don't know this about some of these specific Chinese makers, so I'd like to hear more about them and what their deal is, and are they independent, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, like, so for example, if a Kaiser was independently owned and operating in a way that wasn't directly supporting the communist economy, it was just basically Chinese businessmen trying to explore something that they're interested in, I don't really see a lot of ethical problems with supporting them. That's a kind of a long monologue, but do you see my logic there?
Oh, I do. Absolutely do. Yeah, and I don't really have. I try to buy U.S. made knives. I really do. But I've owned many Chinese knives. I mean, many, like tons, and I've enjoyed them and used them as well as and as much as any U.S. made knife. You know what I mean? So sometimes the quality's not the same. The quality control, but these higher end Chinese knives like the Kaisers and the Riotes, they're really high quality knives, and don't shy away from them just because they're made overseas. That's kind of my opinion, because you're missing out on a good value. For me, the Riotes are all a little large. They're all a little heavy. I'm kind of shying away from that style of knife nowadays. That's why I'm so excited for ZT to bring out these new models that are smaller, more EDC friendly knives. But don't shy away from them. They're really good quality. So another thing on this same topic, and the reason why I brought this up in the first place was my Spyderco Rubicon review.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of views. You commented on it, and you said, you're unbiased, and, you made a comment like something like that on it. Yeah. I've had a lot of guys, like, message me and comment on, oh, we lost Ball Trooper, saying that, oh, you're just being a Spyderco hater, and, because that knife's worth every penny, and I'm like, I don't agree with that. It's not worth $260, $280 that it went for, that it sells for. Like, I'm sure they'll drop in price a little bit. Yeah, it was a beautiful knife. It had beautiful carbon fiber. It had, it was on bearings. It had that nice custom pivot, but that was really it. Like, it had pretty plain Jane steel,
Yeah. It's this S30V, right?
Yeah, S30V steel. I mean, you can get a Buck Vantage Pro in S30V for like $50-something bucks right now. I'm just saying, but one of my subscribers commented that, like, for that much money, I'm gonna buy a small Sebenza, and I said exactly. That's true. Like, you're right there in small Sebenza territory where you're getting, pretty much a custom. I mean, as close to a custom knife in a production knife you're gonna find. I would say Sebenzas are pretty much nicer than most mid-techs I've handled. I will straight up say that. They're nicer than most.
That's very interesting. So talk about that, because a lot of people are talking about how mid-techs are a value proposition.
And they are. They're it all depends on the mid-tech. Let me think of the last one I had, the Chavez Redention 228.
Yeah.
That was a nice knife, but and the fit and finish was fine on it, but it was nothing better than a Sebenza, and a Sebenza is about $100 less. Let's just put it there. You know what I mean? And you don't have, and I've seen people have issues with those mid-techs.
Sure.
I've seen people have locks that are way too late and things of those nature, and you just don't hear very often of people saying my Sebenza, has blade play. No, pretty much never happens. It has lock rock. No, never happens. I mean, what I mean, like every once in a while the lock might get a little late on it, but guess what? Send it in for the spot treatment. You got a brand. I don't think people realize that when you send a knife into like ZT or Spyderco for a warranty, you're not going to get back a brand new knife, guys. You're going to get back the same knife you had. They don't. Sierra K completely refurbishes the knife where it looks brand spanking new. I bought a small Sebenza off a guy saying that it had just came back from the spa, and I'm telling you, it looked like a brand spanking new Sebenza out of the box. You know what?
I believe you. I believe you.
That's part of the value that people don't get, in that knife. People are like, oh, those are so expensive. I couldn't imagine paying $350 for that. And I'm like, well, you're getting a lot for that. You're not just getting titanium frame lock and S30 steel. You're really getting a knife that will last you the rest of your life, because it could be 20 years from now. You could send that knife in, and they'll put a new blade in it. They'll reblast the scales. It'll look brand new. And so your value is extremely high, even though it's an expensive knife.
Yeah.
I think the value is really high on them. That's my opinion. But this, on these Spyderco thing, these guys were like, "Oh, you're just a Spyderco hater." I'm like, do you know how many Spyderco knives I've owned? Like, a ton. I mean, I think I've owned almost every single model that they've ever had, except for the really goofy ones, that I think are ugly. But I don't have anything against Spyderco. I just think their value proposition is way off right now. And and then I used ZT. I threw this at the guy, and he didn't even respond to me. I said, okay, well, if you don't want to have this conversation about the Sebenza, let's talk about the ZT562 carbon fiber. Carbon fiber scales, same as the nice carbon scales like the Rubicon. It's on bearings like the Rubicon, yet it's using M390 steel. It's a titanium frame lock versus a liner lock. It costs about $30 less than the Rubicon, and it's made in the USA. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now what? I wasn't trying to get in an argument with this guy, but he was just, going off. And that's kind of another thing I was going to talk about is what I like to call fanboyism.
Sure.
And there's a lot of that in the knife community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fanboyism. Hey, Bill, did you get bored of knife talk and just said, see you later? Can you hear us, Bill?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. My computer just shut off.
Oh, crap.
I thought you got bored of the knife chat, and you were like, I'm out of here.
No, I was sitting here, and then my computer just went blank, and I'm like, what the hell? It was like you unplugged it. I was like, what the hell? So I had to restart it up and everything. I turned it back on, and I don't know what the hell happened. That was weird.
But, back to that topic, there's a lot of guys, and I've seen it more, I think, with Spyderco than any other maker, that will really defend their knives to the death. Like, they're like, oh, best thing ever, and nothing's as good. And I like Spyderco. I think it's a great company. They make a lot of good knives. Like I said, Paramilitary 2 is probably one of my favorite knives ever made. And I'm a big fan of it, but I try to be objective, even though I'm a fan of, the Sebenza so much, I still think, as much as, you're getting a lot of good value, they're still a little pricey. I wish they were $100 less. You know what I mean? I wish, but Chris Reeve doesn't care about having a fan club, really. You know what I mean? He just makes quality product, and he's going to continue to charge the same price, and he hasn't raised the price in years, I don't think. Yeah. Where you see Spyderco starting to, say, okay, we have a big fan following. People are going to buy our knives no matter how much we charge for them. Yeah. So we're gonna make a serious buck on these Taiwanese-made knives, because that the cost to make them is less, and they're charging more than U.S. production knives they're selling for, and they're making a pretty good bank. And you know what? If they do it, more power to them. That's more money for the company, and it's a good business model. But do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. If you agree, but.
No, I do. I mean, I think the thing about the the Rubicon and Sebenza thing, people might say initially, like, well, that's not even the same kind of knife. But, like, honestly, like, I got my small Sebenza right when the Rubicon was coming on the market. And I decided to get the Sebenza rather than the Rubicon at about the same price point, mostly because if I'm spending that much money on a knife, I want something that I can readily expect I'm going to really want to keep it. I'm not a knife Delonte to the point where, like, I just buy knives to see what they're like and then I flip them. I don't care if I lose money on it. I know that there are collectors who do, but, like, the thing I saw about the Rubicon is that the secondary values have gone down significantly. I mean, you can pick one up now for around $230 if you look, or if you're patient. You know, I've seen at least 2 or 3 go for under $240, $230, $235, and that's already getting more what I think is probably what I think it'll settle at value-wise, or maybe even more like $200. Because, like you said, the only thing that I could imagine justifying the price for Spyderco is, like, somehow they didn't have the infrastructure in place to make some of the stuff that was unique to the Rubicon, but there's no reason to think that, right? I mean, it's not like these Taiwanese manufacturers had never done contour scales in carbon fiber before or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of nice touches on the knife, like the G10 pivot insert and stuff. But, like, even that fine detail you can find. I mean, like, I recently nice Chaparral just because I'm on a traditional knives binge. But, like, that knife is perfect. It's like a little jewel.
Well, you kind of garbled out there with, what did you say? What knife?
The Spyderco Chaparral.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, that's a lockback. It's sort of a conservative, more mainstream Spyderco shape and stuff, and in-house design. But it's got, CTS HHP steel and Taiwanese construction, and, like, I paid $90 for it used, and that's about right about what I'd be willing to pay for it again. I mean, I think I'll probably buy another one because I miss it already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I think that some of these production companies are kind of exploring with what they can do. I mean, another area that I think is really interesting to talk about is ZT's limited editions. I was honestly a little surprised not to see a limited edition come out at SHOT Show this year from them. Is that when they have traditionally announced them in the past, or?
Spyderco?
No, ZT.
Yeah, they do. They'll announce some at SHOT and then some at Blade also. You'll probably see a few more models at Blade. They kind of do it twice a year kind of thing.
I mean, like, I consider the 0454 a huge success for them, but, like, there's definitely some backlash in the knife community about how inaccessible they were. I mean, I was probably ready to pay $500 for it, but I wasn't ready to pay $500 right when the specific time was that they came out, and I wasn't motivated to, like, sit around and refresh the computer. And I thought, well, maybe if I find one on the secondary, I'll pay $500 for it. But now I'd have to pay $800 or whatever,
Oh yeah, they were going for like $1,000 after they were sold out.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I think it's cool that these production companies are exploring, what their potential is to some extent, or, like, how high they can go. But it's like, eventually they're going to hit a glass ceiling. I mean, because they're not. I mean, like the Rubicon is an excellent example of a knife that's, pretty unique and pretty sweet, but it doesn't mean that you can assign whatever price you desire to it and people are going to buy it. I mean, ultimately, I don't think that that's going to work. Price fixing is never a sound economic strategy, and I'm not accusing Spyderco strongly of doing that or something, but there's no question that they're testing markets. I mean, obviously they would. That's part of the process. I just think that it might not work out for them,
Yeah, you might turn off some people that are, you might push them towards another company that does, sell them for a little bit better value. But that, that's kind of funny is that, like, the Chaparral is a good knife. I actually reviewed that one like forever ago on my channel, and I think I got in a pass around, and I thought it was priced accordingly. But look at, like, the Sage series of knives.
Yeah.
Even when they came out. Like the Sage 2, the Sage 1, carbon. I mean, it's not real carbon fiber like the You know,
Sure.
it's that minute stuff. That knife's still like $100, and it has S30V steel, and it was made in the same factory.
Yeah.
Where's the other $160? I mean, not there. You know. But you know, interesting enough, have you seen the new limited ZT801 and the S110V steel?
I think I read a press copy on it. That's about it. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
They just came out. They're a very limited run. I mean, I think most places are sold out of them. I almost bought one today.
Oh, wow.
They're plain. You know, they don't have like the grooves like the regular 801. They're just flat titanium stone washed.
Yep.
And they have S110V.
Yeah.
They're selling for like $280, and I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure I paid like $180 or less for my 801s. I've had a couple 801s. I mean, the carbon fiber one, I paid $260 for, and that had, you know, the bronze titanium. It had the carbon fiber inlays. It had M390 still, you know, and it was less than this one is.
Right.
So I actually think on that knife, they're a little off the rocker for that price, in my opinion. I mean, the guys are already buying them up, though. Because it's limited run, and that's what ZT and Kershaw is a master of, is selling these limited run knives and not producing them again and getting a big profit off them, because I'm sure that knife, you know, the fact that it doesn't have the milling in the scales, like your point earlier about the 560,
Right.
those scales are less expensive to do because they're just flat slabs of titanium.
Right. Yeah.
Stone washing doesn't cost anything, you know, it's no big deal.
Right.
The S110V steel is a lot better steel, but ZT has used that quite a few times in knives, you know, so it's not like you know, it's a new steel to them. So that knife, they're a little high on, I think. I was gonna buy one. Blade HQ had a couple today. They had like 4 in stock, and they're probably gone now.
I'm just looking right now. They're still in stock, it looks like.
Oh, see, and I'm seriously like on the fence. The only thing I'm like, oh, the black hardware, really?
Yeah.
Right? Like, the black hardware does not go well with that knife. It never has. You know, on the black wash, it kind of did because, you know, it kind of blended in with the black wash. But on the plain, you know, Taiwan, I ended up, like, polishing all my hardware. And, you know, people have been anodizing it. And, you know, but, I don't know. It's a really, I love the way it looks with those plain titanium handles. I think that's so, it looks great. But
it's real clean, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. 280 is just too much for me to spend on that knife. I'm just like, yeah, that's, you know, a little bit more, and I could buy
a large Sebenza used for that price. I mean,
exactly. And
I mean, or be within $30 of buying a large Sebenza. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, and I'll carry and use the Sebenza more because it weighs about 2 ounces less.
Right. Yeah. It's
That
probably you know, equally good of a knife, if not better, you know, in every other way. I mean, except for steel. I mean, the thing is you can, if you're really interested in just trying out the newest steels, you can always find, like, Spyderco always throws good steels into cheap knives. Like, buy a Manix 2 lightweight with S110V, and those you can find those used for $90 now. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's got the same steel, but it, you know, obviously the handle material is not nearly as nice. But yeah. So I mean, and that's what's crazy to me is, like, well, they're bringing out their new models that, you know, plain titanium handles for $160. I mean, granted, S35VN is not, you know, as nice a steel as S110V, but for me, S35VN is more than a sufficient steel.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I love it.
That might be my favorite steel. I've had for a long time the ZDP is my favorite, but that's most my favorite just because it holds an amazing edge for a long time. I think overall, like in terms of sharpenability and the kind of ease of management, I mean, S35VN is a great steel. I mean, I can understand. I mean, it's a second generation steel that was developed specifically for the knife industry. I mean, it's perfect for knives. It's a great steel for knives.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, ZT is. I mean, the fact that ZT is transitioning over to S35VN, I think, says a lot. You know.
Well, they've been using it on their 550 for a long time. But it was the only model that had it. You know, it was the only model that had S35VN. They either did LMAX on everything, which, you know, there was a lot of negative, you know, press on LMAX and the heat treating process. I think they're done with LMAX. I mean, you saw all those new knives, I think, were S35 or I do think they have some M390 ones coming out. They seem to like that still quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, S110V. So anyway, we've talked like an hour about this.
Yeah. So
That's
much
how
for your
it
short
happens.
chat. I mean, unless we want to talk AKs, maybe we should just talk AKs all of next week. I mean, that would be fun.
Well, the only AK topic I had, we hit on this quite a bit last week, but we talked about a lot of the new SHOT Show stuff, and one of them that I don't remember mentioning, or maybe you did, Metal Trooper, but we didn't talk much about it, was that Palmetto State Armory AK.
Yeah.
They're being made there in South Carolina, all U.S. made. I believe they're using Nodak Spud receivers. I'm taking this information from the AK Operators Union video today I watched. Nodak Spud receivers, which is a great receiver. The Tapco G2's trigger. I believe they come with polymer furniture, which, whatever. You can replace that if you want. And what was the barrel again?
4150.
4150 barrels that they're claiming will get 1 MOA accuracy.
Yeah.
Well,
Out of the 7.62 39 round, 1 MOA accuracy is
crazy.
that's a stretch, I think.
Yeah.
I would love to see it, and if it does that, because they're coming to market at $600 or less, they said.
Yeah.
And knowing Palmetto, they'll probably do some big sale where they sell them for like $400 or $500. No.
They have amazing sales.
Yeah, just have great sales, and I'm like, that is awesome. A U.S. made, 100% U.S. made AK with that kind of accuracy, with a good trigger. The Tapco G2 is a great trigger. You don't have to bother with a 922 because it's produced here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but hopefully all that new Magpul furniture will fit them. You won't have the issues where you probably will, like I probably will with the Yugo NPAP. It's got kind of a different receiver and mounting, and it may not work, and I'm still happy with my NPAP, but I think I'm going to buy one of those when they come out because I want to test the heck out of that thing. I want to put a good optic on it and really test the accuracy, see if I can pull one MOA out of it, because that's, and I don't know if they're saying that with like match grade ammo, but I don't really know of any 7.62 39 match grade ammo out there. Do you?
I don't.
Unless it's like some kind of Hornady stuff or something like that.
Yeah, Hornady does make a 7.62, and it's even steel cased, but and maybe that's higher quality ammo. And I'll buy a box of that because you want to get. But I like to see it out of like just your plain Jane Tula ammo or your Wolf or whatever. That would be pretty remarkable if they could pull that off. And I think with that AK coming out, and then you have, like you mentioned, the Polish AKs that are going to be made here in the U.S. that are going to be like top shelf AKs, like, you're saying the best AK you could buy, basically.
Yeah.
And you also have the Kalashnikov effect, isn't that what it's called?
Kalashnikov Concern.
Concern, yes.
Yeah. I think it's going to be called Kalashnikov USA.
And that's who makes the Sega and Vepers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's top quality AK. That's Russian AK right there, and those are going to be made in the USA. Really cool time to buy an AK. Now, on the same topic, do you remember when President Obama did the sanctions on Russia, and there was all that panic buying of the 7.62 39 ammo, any kind of Russian-made ammo?
Yeah.
And I remember doing a video on this, like, well, they said they were banning AK imports, but what about the ammunition? And, there's a lot of that ammo that's not even made in Russia, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. But a recent ad I got, and I haven't seen it dry up. Have you seen it dry up? I think it's readily available. I can walk into Walmart on any day and buy Tula ammo.
Yeah, it never dried up here.
So I think that's a bunch of BS. Well, I actually saw an ad from an FFL locally to me, and this is the second time I've seen him do this, and it really irks me a little bit because he's basically putting in his thing, hey, this ammo is drying up. It's no longer going to be imported. This is the time to buy it. Trying to, push the ammo and sell it. And I'm like, dude, you can walk into Walmart on a given day and buy that ammo. I can go there every single day. You can buy a 3-box limit. I bet I could go there every single day of the week and I'd get 3 boxes every single day. Like, it's not drying up. I see sales on that stuff. I saw it sell for like 18 cents a round recently for Wolf, I think. I mean...
Yeah, see, our Walmart lifted the 3-box limit on ammo, everything except 22. Because, I'll go in there, I'll buy 10 boxes of 7.62, at a time. And I think it's like $5.47 for a box of 20. what it is here for the two.
I'm getting called out in the chat here real quick. Sorry. I haven't been doing a good job keeping up with the chat tonight because I've been very animated in the conversation. So, but let's hit up on that. We got Ben Loop in the chat. Ben Long 1018, Fringe Sniper, Hawaii Volcano Squad, 50 Stitches Steel, Living Survival. I'm looking for new people. I think that's the majority. Oh, we had the Fat Man earlier. He never responded to my comment. Oh, HNRE 42. What's up, buddy? Is your 6 covered? So we've got a pretty good audience tonight. So I apologize, guys, for not. Ben Lope said something in the comments as if I check the the chat, in which I'm the only one that can see the chat, by the way. Metal Trooper and Andrew, I don't think can see the chat, right?
Yeah, sorry, no, I can't.
Well, if you guys say something to them, I noticed someone said something to Metal Trooper, and I read it, but I forgot to comment on it. So sorry, but he can't see it, so you'd have to direct that to me if you have a question or something. But so we have a good chat going. We have a good audience. So, but back to the whole ammo thing. That just kind of irks me, man. It's like he's just kind of preying, I think, a little bit on the guys that are uneducated. And I've bought a lot of guns from the guy, and he's a good dude, and he lives down the street from me, for heck's sakes. So it's super convenient to use him as my FFL, because if I do a transfer online, but I don't buy ammo from him for that. That's one of the reasons why I don't buy ammo from him. I bought guns from him because his pricing's good. He's known to match pricing, but I won't buy ammo from him because I think he takes a little bit of advantage of that, and it's kind of silly. I haven't heard of any sanction on ammo since then. I haven't had any hard time buying it, and I continually probably won't. I'm not going to go out and I have good stash. I have a couple thousand rounds of that ammo right now, and I shoot it quite a bit too. So, but I like the fact that I can go buy it.
Don't be too specific though, bud.
What's that?
Don't be specific about what you have. That's my opinion.
Well, I said a couple thousand. That could be anything. But and that could be in one location. That's what I'm saying. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. This could be a broader conversation, but I mean, I've really had mixed experiences at my local gun shops, because my impression, I don't know if it's because they just feel under the gun.
Nice.
Competing with some of these big box stores like it's Cabela's or Walmart or whatever, but it's I'd say my luck is only about 50% where I'm really meeting someone where I feel like they're actually being on the level with me. At my local gun shops, half the guys I feel like they're trying to sell me something, or they're you'll hear things like what you're talking about, sanctions and scare tactics and stuff that when I look into it I can't substantiate it. It's just really too bad, because I feel like the local gun shop is like a staple of American society. It's like the hamburger and the hot rod or something, there should be good gun shops, people that you can trust there. So, I mean, it's definitely kept me from spending as much time at my local gun shops as I would like, because I feel like every time I'm there, they're trying to sell me something,
Yeah, I'm with you. I just bought that Ruger you saw from a local gun shop that is notorious for price gouging on 22 ammo, which I told them I'd never give them their business. Well, I didn't tell them that, but I said that to myself. They were the only dealer, in America, I'm not even exaggerating, that had those guns in stock, man. I mean, I went on Gunbroker, there was 3 of them.
Yeah.
Gunbroker usually has tons, and
yeah, right.
I called one of my other guys that I get guns from that's also local to me, that he kind of runs it out of his home, and he couldn't get it, and so they were the only ones, and their price was good, and so I went and I bought it from them just because they kind of had the only one I could buy.
Right. Well, and you have to do that sometimes. That's the thing is I mean, I've heard some guys say, well, I'd never buy from cheaper than dirt because of all the crazy price gouging they did at the ammo scare, but I mean, if they had the only thing that was available that I was looking for, or if they were the only supplier of something I was looking for, I mean, they've uniquely cornered the market, and as a consumer, I don't have a lot of choice. If want the thing that they have, you know.
Yeah, Cabela's. I have a Cabela's local to me. It's about 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
They're building one, however, next spring, like 10 minutes from my house.
Wow! Oh no!
I know, man. It's gonna be one of the smaller stores. Like the one down south for me is huge. Like
Yeah.
you know, it has all the animals and all the huge fish tanks and all that stuff in it. But this one's gonna be smaller. It's not gonna have that. But I don't really care because they're gonna sell ammo.
Yeah.
And their 22 ammo is still available quite often. I bought some today off their website, and it was like 6 cents a round, which you know is the Federal Auto Match, which is usually a little bit more expensive anyway. And I'll continue to buy from those, you know, because they haven't price gouged, you know, on 22.
Yeah.
Their gun prices aren't usually the best. Sometimes they run specials. And I heard a guy in Cabela's last time I was there that worked under the gun counter to call a magazine a clip, and I about lost my mind. I'm like, dude, you work at the gun counter. Like, come on. Don't. I'd be correcting people all day. If they said clip, I'd see magazine. A clip goes in an M1 Garand, okay, or an SKS. That's a clip.
The clip for my assault rifle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I'm like, oh, I just hate that guy. I won't even talk to you now. You know. I mean, like I've said before, most part, I usually know more than most of the people in the gun shop that work there. You know, I could say we'd all say that. We're all enthusiasts, and especially, you know, like Metal Trooper about AKs. Everybody could go into a gun shop and talk circles around guys about AKs, but, you know, it is what it is, you know. And I have a guy that FFL that I deal with. He has the same name as me, not the one that's price gouging on ammo right now, but the other one. He's a really cool dude, and like we'll just chat guns. Like when I call him to get pricing, we'll just sit and talk. And that's the kind of guy I like to get my business to, because first of all, he's a small guy, so he doesn't have any overhead, and he can give me the best prices.
Yeah.
And he just like enjoys talking to me about guns, and like he actually asks me questions, even though he's the FFL dealer. He'll ask me, hey, what do you think about this gun? You know, I've had a few people ask me about it. What's your opinion on it? You know, and I'm like, oh, I think it's, you know, great or whatever. And you know, like the Canik TP9SA that, you know, when I reviewed that I raved about, and I freaking love that handgun. It's unreal, the trigger on that thing for the price. He called me and was like, hey, I've got a buddy that's looking at this older one. Do you think he should buy the new one? I can get those. I'm like, absolutely, you know, and you know, he just kind of consults me, so it's kind of funny. You know, he's got an open mind. He's not like got that mentality. These gun stores that have been in business for 20, 30, 40, you know, however many years, they just know everything, and half the time they don't even know what they're talking about, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that, I mean, one thing, if there wasn't, you know, being regulated to death, the rise of micro FFLs would be something that we would all see, because I have a friend of mine who's actually in the jewelry business, but he decided to become an FFL just on the side, and like, he always is willing to sell things at near cost just because he supports enthusiasts. Like, he's not doing it for the money per se as much as just because he's really into it, you know, and he wants to you know, eventually, you know, if he has enough of a network, he can probably do more with his business or something. But like, I mean, it's just really great to have people who are doing that, you know. And I think that, you know, one thing I thought about doing on my channel, if I need to think of a way to develop the idea, I would like to really highlight people who are doing something like that, like a mini documentary or something, so that there's a greater awareness of like, this is something people can do, and it's really good for the gun community. But this guy's up in Minnesota. Next time I'm up there, I might talk to him about doing that, because we've talked about doing more gun collaborations. I really want to do more gun content this year. I don't know if you guys have 2015 goals, but like, I just didn't have as much gun stuff on there as I like relative to my interest. And I've been enjoying your stuff, Tyler. It's been pretty cool. I mean, some of the stuff you're doing is making me really want to get on it more.
Yeah, I've done, you know, a couple of videos already this year on guns, and it's only January, and I have a couple more on that same topic. You know, is it, we've had this conversation because you're big into watches, and sometimes you want to spend your budget, your play money on watches versus knives, and you kind of wrestle with that. Do I buy a new knife? Do I buy this watch?
Yeah.
That's how it is with me and guns. And lately, the guns have been winning.
Yeah.
And today, I was looking. I had some funds, and I was looking at, buying another small Sebenza, and I've been kind of just deciding which one to buy because there's so many options.
Yeah.
And I ended up blowing my money on a slide fire stock for my son's M&P 1522.
Oh, cool.
Because Grab-A-Gun had them for like way cheap, and they came with a CMC trigger, which is a really nice AR-15 trigger, by the way, for $167. So you got the slide fire trigger, or the slide fire stock, and you got the trigger upgrade, which is a big upgrade. The M&P 1522 really can't do the slide fire well with the stock trigger. It's just too heavy of a pull. But see, a lot of guys have been using like the Timney triggers or the CMC triggers. Those CMC triggers, by the way, run $167 by themselves.
Yeah, those are expensive.
So I essentially got the slide fire for free, this deal, and then I'm like, man, if I get this, I'm gonna need a 50 cal. I'm gonna 50 cal. And then
I need a 50 cal.
A 50-round drum. Black Dog Machine makes 50-round drums for those guns that are blast. So I ended up buying one of those, and I was like,
that's great.
But I'm gonna basically, I've always thought the slide fires were, cool, and I'm like, man, I just couldn't run it on an AK or an AR just because the cost of ammo, man. You're gonna blow through ammo like no time. But I always thought, man, it would be cool to have those on a 22,
Oh, yeah.
But the cost of the stock and those triggers was going to be well over $300, and I was like, I just can't justify that. But this was like half that price, and I was like, man, it's time. I'm gonna bite the bullet, and we're gonna have us a good old time with that 22, man, because it's. I don't know if you guys have seen videos on that, but they're essentially a full auto.
Oh, yeah.
They are putting rounds down range fast, and it's just fun, And a 22, that's what a 22 is about, A 22 is a fun gun. Everyone has a 22 rifle. Everyone has a 10-22 or an AR style 22 nowadays, and they're just for fun. They're for plinking, I don't ever shoot mine because my son only really ever shoots it because I always shoot my centerfire guns. But it's not that I don't like the 22. It's fun to shoot, and it's a good round for hunting, small game and survival and such. But for me, I was just like, this is gonna be fun. My son is gonna have a blast with this once he figures out how to do the slide fire, and for me, I thought, geez, worst case, I put that trigger in my AR and I have a lot better trigger than I have now.
Yeah,
Or I throw the slide fire on my AR-15 every once in a while for fun, and it's just. But there goes my knife budget again.
Yeah, I agree.
To buy the small another small sub again, and I bought that Ruger.
Yeah.
That Ruger was not cheap, by the way. That was. Ugh.
I feel like for your dollar, you get a lot more with a gun than you get with a knife. The only thing is it definitely I definitely run my guns less than I can carry a knife. I wish that I lived close enough to a range or a remote area where I could go shooting every day or something. That's one of the things. Eventually, I'd like to have my own property where that's part of my morning routine or something is, doing some plinking before I go to work or something. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh man, talk about the best stress reliever. You got a bad day, you go out and put some rounds down range and ring some steel, or shooting my Xbox. I haven't uploaded the video yet, but my Xbox 360 red ringed on me. Yep. And I've had it for 6+ years, and I have an Xbox. I have an Xbox One now, so literally only my son played the 360 anyway, and it finally red ringed on us. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna get this fixed. It's just not worth the money, And I said, we'll just go up and shoot it. So destroyed that thing. It was fun.
Hopefully, it's in 4K.
No, that one is not in 4K. I don't know that I'm actually gonna do more videos in 4K because it's really, really a pain to edit them.
I bet.
I would have to buy a new software to even do it, and I'm not about to go spend like $300 on a new software, when I already have Sony Vegas and, Windows Movie Maker that I use. Now, I did upload those videos onto YouTube directly with 4K because YouTube is one of the few technologies that's even using 4K.
Right.
Netflix, I believe, was the other one. So, it's cool, but like a lot of people don't even have the capability to watch 4K. So it's like that was just a test. The quality is amazing, though. Like, wow, you know. Oh, and the videos can only be 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's like a limitation on the Samsung Galaxy S5 to record for only 5 minutes in 4K.
Oh.
So, yeah. So anyway, and my video camera is a 1080p, but I didn't really want to go out and buy a new 4K camera yet. I mean, once everything kind of catches up to it, I will. But
yeah, I mean, it's just kind of fun to see where it's going to go. I mean, I think that there's still a really awesome, strong community on YouTube, and I mean, some of the best knife channels or some of the best gun channels out there are doing just really impressive content. And so it's been really fun for me to just be basically still on the receiving end of a lot of that and just enjoying what's coming out. I mean, Military Arms channel, I mean, you name any of those big channels, they're just doing really cool stuff. Anyway, yeah, so hopefully we'll keep talking guns during this chat too. I definitely enjoy it.
yeah, I plan on it, and lately they've been winning out over knives. Really have.
Watches are one of those things where I feel like a good watch you could pass on, but I feel equally that way with a good gun. Now, do I necessarily feel like I'm going to be able to pass on a Sebenza to someone and they'll get, okay, this is a special knife? Probably yes, but some of the other knives I have, definitely I don't know. Like, is there really going to be a long-term value for some of these things? Guns are never a bad investment, ever.
No, they can, if you take care of them, they'll last your life. And I think, like you said, the Sebenza and some of these, even the traditional knives, if you take care of them, they can last you a long time. And my big thing I'm looking for right now is, and it's really hard to find, is Sebenza is born on certain dates. I'm really wanting to find one on my son's birthday.
Oh, cool.
So I can hand it down to him, and say, hey, look, this knife was born the same day you were. I've had it for this many, you know what I mean? Like, kind of give him the first real pocket knife. Obviously, I'm not going to give it to him until he's older and responsible. I'm going to have him use some $300-some knife, but but it's really hard to find. I'm always looking on eBay, and I'm always looking on the forums. Whenever they come up for sale, I'm like, what's the birth date? Because I'm just searching for that, and I'm searching for mine, and my anniversary, my daughter's. I'm trying to find one with Doll's birthday, and it's going to be a tough sell. And I hadn't really thought about that, but this guy, I bought a small Sebenza off Blade Forums, and I think it was a Insingo, like small Insingo, and this guy, like, I guess you'd say beat to the punch. I said I'd take it. He had been messaging me and emailing me like, hey, man, that's my son's birthday, and I want to hand it down to him. He's just barely 1 year old, but, I've been looking for that date, and, I'll buy it off you for more money. He's just really adamant. And I was like, that's a really cool idea. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of something special, like,
right.
My dad gave me this knife. It's my birthday. You know what I mean? Like, how many knives? That's kind of one of the cool things about Sebenzas is they do that. Like,
yeah. I love that. I love it.
Born on this date, and it's at first I thought it was kind of weird, but it's cool. I'm on the hunt. So if you ever see Sebenzas for November 3rd birth date.
November 3rd, okay.
That's kind of the highest one. I would take, my birthday's 10/27, my anniversary is May 1st. There's certain dates that I'm looking for, but 11/3 is kind of the highest because I only have one son, and I'm not having kids, so it's kind of like that's kind of the one I'm looking for. So you ever see it, let me know. I mean, I'll probably overpay for it just to get it, but
my Sebenza's got an April birth date. It's nothing significant to me, even though my birthday's in April, but it's not the same day. But I definitely thought about that. I think that's Sebenza knows how to make something collectible, plain and simple. They are collectible knives. I can understand why people collect a whole bunch of them because they're impeccable quality. and the variety is interesting enough where they're always. I mean, I'd love to get a knife art Sebenza. I'd love to get an inlaid Sebenza. I'd like to get a. I could just roll. I mean, I can imagine guys collecting Sebenzas very easily.
Yeah, they're very highly collectible. I've got like, I can't decide on the next one I want to get. You know, I kind of want to get one of the Tanto ones. I really like the Tanto blade shape that Chris Reeve did for True North knives. You know, they're a True North knife. Oh, that's hard to say for some reason.
True North knife.
True North knife. Why is that so like sounds so funny? But they're exclusive to them, and you know I like that Tanto. I want to add that way. I have a drop point, my Insingo, and a Tanto. You know what I mean? Like I have all the blade shapes.
Sure. Yeah.
And they make that Tanto in a inlaid micarta, and I'm like, well, there's an inlay, and you know the different blade style.
Yeah, right.
That would kind of. But then I see these. I like the computer graphic ones, like the riddled one I have.
Yeah.
A few of those that I really like. A few of them I don't like at all, but there's a few that I really like.
Sure.
And then I want an inlaid, you know, with like an exotic wood, like why can't I think of it?
Like snakewood or something.
Snakewood is nice. I had that Menondi and snakewood. Yes, I would love a snakewood one. What's the one I'm thinking of though?
I would really like one in Box Elder Burl.
That's it. Box Elder Burl. Yeah, that's the one. I've been staring at one on eBay. There's a dealer on eBay, Andrew, that's selling those for $425, which is a lot cheaper than most for that particular inlay. Usually
they're on there right now for that because I looked at the ones on Blade HQ forever, and I just couldn't pull the trigger because it was like $500 for a small Sebenza.
Yeah, $425, small Sebenza book. It's an authorized retailer for Chris Reeve.
That does not make me feel good right now.
I know, like, and it says like 2 left, and I'm like,
Oh, B. I'm looking at that. I'm looking this up right now. That's bad. I just bought a knife today.
You just bought a knife today, you said?
Yeah.
That Indian River?
Yeah. I mean, I got a good deal on that. That was $125, but like, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the only one. I really like my plain Jane Sebenza because I sort of feel like it's like what I imagine a Sebenza. It's what I imagine a Sebenza would be. And it's the one that I have it came with a lot of scratches and wear on it, even though it was well taken care of, but it was just used. And so it's like perfect. Yeah, geez, look at this. That's not cool at all.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. That is not cool at all. Holy crap.
That's my favorite wood inlay on the Sebenzas by far. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
Those look like good examples, too. Like, some of the Box Elder inlays don't look as good. This one looks really nice. Yeah, two available. Holy crap. We should...
I know. We should both buy one.
Yeah, I will probably not be able to sleep very well tonight thinking about this. Definitely going on and watch this.
Sorry, man. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, Knife Collectors Anonymous. Like,
yeah, that is so good looking. That's crazy.
Like.
Do you find that their satin finish on their knives is nice? I mean, I've always thought they look great in pictures, but I'm afraid they'd be like fingerprint magnets or something.
Yeah, they are a little bit, but no, they're really nice. And what I love about the inlaid Sebenzas, except for the micarta is all bead blasted. But the inlays are typically the scales aren't bead blasted. They have like a satin finish on the scale on the titanium. At least on the non-locking side. Why can't I think the show side? The locking side has partly bead blasted and partly satin. It's just a cool contrast, you know. And
yeah, sure.
I really like it. I had an inlaid Sebenza, large Sebenza, that carbon fiber inlaid one, which was a blade, and I loved that finish. It doesn't show like the advantage is the bead blast, as you know, it gets really like the scratches show up a lot easier on the titanium.
Right, for sure.
That satin it'll get more fingerprints, but it won't show scratches very well. So kind of a trade-off. Yeah, that guy's had too, Andrew, for a while. I mean, I'm talking like 2 weeks. I've been mulling that over. I'm like, ugh.
That is crazy.
It was going to be that one or that Tanto micarta one. I've got a list, man. It's like probably 5 or 6 of them that I really, really want to get.
I'm really annoyed that you made me realize that there's still some of those knives on the market now, because I had resigned myself that okay, they're sold out. I mean, because like you could own one traditional knife and one Sebenza, and like that's all you would need. And then you could be like, okay, I'm going to spend my money on guns or watches or whatever. Like,
yeah,
it's hard not to. I mean, because I like having more than two knives, but it's hard when you see a knife like that. You think, I wouldn't need to get into customs with a knife like that.
yeah.
I wouldn't feel like a lot of the production knives would lose their appeal to me. I mean, oh boy, that's not cool. I gotta go. I'll see you later.
Yeah, seriously. I'm gonna go check eBay and it's gonna say one left. I'm gonna be like, yeah, you bought it.
That is bad. This is bad.
Yeah, the only thing that's held me back is that it's such a dressy version of that knife.
Yeah.
I wonder how much pocket time it would get.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a good point. I have no problems carrying my plain Sebenza. That's one thing I like about it. Is
Yeah.
I really don't. I really feel fine carrying it.
Yeah, because it's already got scratches on the. You could Scotch-Brite it. I love the Scotch-Brite finish on those knives. It looks awesome. The Star Benza is really high on my list.
I know. Yeah. You know what? I want a Wilson Combat Sebenza. Those things look freaking awesome.
I'm so mad. I had the funds and I missed one on Blade Forms go for $325 and it was like brand new. I was like,
they're so badass. They just are amazing. Like,
$75 off the price, and I'm like, oh, I barely missed it. Because they don't come up that often, you know,
Yeah.
they really don't. And
Yeah.
a lot of Sebenzas come up, but it's usually the typical plain Jane small,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
just plain old.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's not very often they have the. There was a really cool one that came up today. That was a classic Sebenza, small, which is, you know, the older version.
Yeah. Right.
S30V steel, but it had Madagascar rosewood on it. It was a really cool looking inlay, and it.
Was it a big inlay, like the one-piece inlay, or?
No. It's like the ones now, like that.
Okay.
Box of the Pearl. And it was cool. It was like almost like it had craters in the wood. It was just really unique, and then the price was like pretty good because those are pretty highly collectible.
Right.
And I kind of thought about that one, but funny enough, I had just bought all that stuff for my son's. And I was like, ugh, something like that pops up. You know, it's a real struggle we have here in life, that we have these decisions we have to make. Like, darn it, right? I mean,
it's really hard. It's
yeah.
so hard, but I accept the struggle. I'm glad to. It's kind of fun. Like, I mean, it's very cool just finding out about all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
but
No.
I'm gonna send you the bill for this. Bill. I'll send my wife over to you, and she can talk to you about.
Super jealous. Yeah, your wife can contact me and be like,
just have my wife call your wife, and they'll talk it out themselves, and we'll go get beers and play with knives somewhere.
I think my wife might have a heart attack. She knew how much money I've spent on some certain knives. It's not that I hide it from her, because we kind of have an understanding where I don't really spend money that would be like for our bills or for anything else. It's kind of like my YouTube channel makes me a small amount of money, and I have an Amazon store that makes a small amount of money, and you know what I mean. I kind of just take those things and that's what I buy a lot of my stuff with,
Yeah.
And
right, for sure.
Or I'll sell a knife, and that money is my PayPal account is like my play money, man. Like, I don't use my debit card for stuff. That's for bills and that's for like food, and I don't mess with that, because my wife would be like, don't spend our money on guns and ammo, and so we have that understanding. So I don't think that's why she doesn't care, and
Right.
hopefully she's not home right now, because I think she's gone and I know she won't watch this, but I think if she saw me looking at that one and be like, what, $425 for that?
Yeah.
Well, does she have any like hobbies or collectible stuff that she buys, or?
No, she is big into shopping.
Yeah.
Shocker, typical woman, and she'll go out and spend so sometimes if I really want to buy something and I don't have the funds in my PayPal, or I don't want to sell anything, I'll say, hey, look, I want to buy this, and we've kind of had this arrangement since we've been married, that if let's say I spend $400 on a gun, I have to give her $400. It's kind kind of a fair trade. You know what I mean? She can use that money for whatever she wants. You know, and typically she spends it on clothes, right?
Well, I know a couple, like, I got a buddy, his wife has about 300 pairs of shoes, and my sister has about just as many, that they're big into shoes.
Yep. And my wife just bought a Michael Kors purse, which is yikes expensive. Like,
Yeah, my sister's got the $5 purse.
yeah, and my mom actually bought it for her 30th birthday, which was cool because I was like, I don't want to spend that much money on a purse.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, you know, as long as you have that, you know, so I don't usually when I buy stuff, it's because it's my play money. You know what I mean? It's in my I sell something. Like you guys, if I had kept all the knives I've ever had, I would have like probably 200. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
If I had kept every gun I ever had, I would have probably had, you know, 4 safes full. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of that guy that I lose interest in something pretty quickly, and I want something new, and I'll just, you know what? I'll sell this to pay for that, you know? So.
Yeah. And I mean, we're fortunate to live in an economy and in enough of a hobby community where most stuff, if you let it go and you want it back again someday, you can buy it back. I mean, I've done that with watches. I've done it with knives. I mean, it's not like they're gone forever for the most part, unless it's a Box Elder Sabenza that I need to buy right now. That's never coming up again, right?
Well, not for that price. I've never seen them sold that cheap, man. That's
crazy. It's true. It's true. That's that cool.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I feel like, you know, just it's like even if without outside of a gear hobby, I have friends who enjoy traveling. I have friends who enjoy, you know, they're into cars. Like they like modding their cars, and I like cars a lot. I just don't do that anymore. And you know, financial responsibility is a joint effort, and I respect that couples find different ways to make it work, and it's none of my damn business, you know. So so if it works for you, man, thumbs up. Like, no problem. Like, I mean.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's you know, I've had friends get in serious trouble, and they're, you know, I have a buddy that used to buy guns and go shooting with me a lot, and he hasn't bought anything for years, and I'm like, what? You know, what's going on? He's like, oh, you know, my wife's just always giving me grief about it, and I'm like, man, that would suck.
Yeah.
You know, like my wife is way cool about it as long as I'm not. Like Metham88 put in the comments here, my wife says, buy what you want, just don't hurt us. You know, and that makes sense to me. Like, don't put us in debt, or don't, you know, go spend our
spend their rent money or mortgage money.
Yeah, on a gun. Like, don't be stupid, basically, is what she says, you know.
I mean, for me, it's gotten easier since I have kids. Like, it'd be hard for me in good conscience to blow money that's essential to my family's well-being when I know that, you know, like, people depend on me. I mean, because I was definitely not as responsible with my money as a bachelor as I am now. But, like, it was a transition I was very glad to make. Like, I was ready for it. Anyway, I think most people at this point, they're intentional enough in their marriages if they want them to last to be fiscally responsible too. But anyway, I would have never thought the chat took this turn.
Right? We're talking about
wives and gear. That'll be like, we can have like a panel discussion with our wives someday. That'll be like the most awkward chat ever. That would be so funny.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. Well, Metal, anything you wanted to add that we haven't talked about tonight, or?
I can't think of nothing.
Okay. You've kind of been quiet. We've kind of been dominating the conversation of knives again.
No,
so.
I'm just sitting here learning.
What's your opinion on those? I don't know if I ever got your opinion on the Palmetto AKs coming out.
I'm kind of on the fence about them. I mean, some of the stuff, I'd like to see AK Operators Union do their torture test on one. But that whole 4150 barrel, that I know a lot of the AK fanatics out there, they've been kind of requesting this barrel, this type of steel used on a barrel, because it has been used like on AR-15s and some other rifles, but it hasn't been available for AK barrels. So this is pretty big as far as, you know, in the AK world.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be being the materials they make them out of, I think they'll be reliable guns. But they still got to machine them correctly, and they still got to put them together right. And
Right.
it's
Exactly.
basically such. So we'll see. But I'm really curious to test out that accuracy claim because that's saying a lot. No, I think Nut and Fancy did a video on his channel probably a couple of years ago. He put those tech sights on his AK, and he actually did achieve 108 accuracy on an AK.
Yeah.
I believe it was really close to 108, 1 MOA. It might have been just shy, 1.5 maybe. But his video is pretty remarkable. He did some shooting with iron sights, and he was hitting that. Now, I don't plan on using irons to do that test. I'm going to use an optic, probably a Primary Arms. Primary Arms has a new AK scope out. It's a 4-time prism scope, but it has that BDC reticle for. It's calibrated for the 7.62-39 and the 300 blackout.
Yeah.
And I've tested like a handful of those scopes from them, and they are spot on their BDC, man. So, I think that'd be a good optic to test it with, or maybe even they do have a 1-to-6 time AK specific scope, which I love their 1-to-6 AR scope. I run that on my AR-15. So that one would be a good one too. It's some kind of a good optic that, shooting from a rest, like best, what's the word I'm looking for? Conditions you can, to get that accuracy. You're not going to get it on a really windy day, probably. You're not going to get it standing. You're not going to get it even shooting prone. You're probably going to want to shoot from a rest of some sort. But I'm really curious to test that. If they can pull that off, that's saying a lot, especially for the price point.
Yeah, see, I'm real big into original barrels. I love the cold hammer forged barrels, and I'll spend the extra money to buy an original barrel. But this Polish underfolder build, I didn't have $250 to spend on a barrel, so I bought one of the nitride AR or AK barrels from Arms of America. They had them on sale for, I think it was like $110. So I'm gonna try that. And the nitride barrels are supposed to be better and more accurate than the chromline barrels. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that's gonna shoot once I get that build. I need to get off my lazy ass and start working on that.
Definitely. Landry, you got anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No, it's been a fun chat, and definitely looking forward to talking next week.
Yeah, me too. I shouldn't have any conflicts of interest there, so I should be here. And Hancock never made it. He was fixing the shitter, so it's taken a line taken from my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Shitter was full. So, anyone know the quote there from the movie? Oh, you got
National Lampoon. I'm sorry.
It is Christmas Vacation. Yes.
Okay.
Randy Quaid. He's out there.
It's been like 10 years, but
Yeah.
I was like, that's got to be National Lampoon.
Oh, dude, 10 years? That's a travesty. I watch that every Christmas season at least a few times. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, it's so funny.
I just watched the interview on Netflix the other day, and I was reminded of how much those dumbass comedy movies can be so much fun. So I definitely go back and watch it.
Yeah, dude. I haven't watched that movie yet, the interview. I haven't. Oh, Bill dropped off. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I'm kind of on the fence with Seth Rogen's stupid comments about.
Oh yeah, those were faggot comments, but
Yeah, but I'll probably watch it, especially now that it's on Netflix, because I won't be paying any money for it, right?
Yeah, I waited till it would be on Netflix. I'm like, this is just a cash cow for them at this point with all the free publicity. So it's just gonna go to Netflix as soon as they're able to get it there. But yeah, those comments, those are douchey comments for sure. And I mean, he backed off a little bit, but it was still stupid.
That ticked a lot of people off. So.
Yeah. Tyler, I got a couple things I want to talk to you about off the air, but yeah, it's been a good chat, and thanks everyone for watching too, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just replying to a comment real quick.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, we'll take it offline. Thanks everyone for watching and commenting, and we had a nice conversation going on at the sidebar there, the conversation there, amongst the viewers. So that's always good to see that. So
Yeah.
we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.